following is informative and contains my opinion and understanding of the subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona. I'm Dr. Jaime Vona, and I'm here today bringing you the part of a documentary on Kouri Richins. Let's start by talking about the children's book about grief that can be a lifeline for many. However, in this case, that book becomes part of a national storyline for an entirely different reason. Kouri Richins, Utah mother of 3, promoted her self-published book, which she titled, Are You With Me? After her husband unexpectedly died in March of 2022, weeks after the book was published, she was arrested and charged in connection with his death. But this documentary here that I'm making, it's built from public records, and it's going to show what the prosecutors allege, then what the defense disputes, and what the trial is designed to decide. The public record places the family in Summit County, Utah, Park City, raising 3 young boys, 9, 8, and 6 at the time of the father's passing. In the early hours of March 4th, 2022, a 911 call reported an unresponsive adult male in the home.
911, what's the address of the emergency? My husband's not breathing. He's cold. Okay, what's the address? 282 Willow Court. 282 Willow Court? Uh-huh. Okay, what's a good phone number in case we get disconnected? 435-671-4987. Okay, it's going to be in Francis? Uh-huh. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I don't know. I just came in. I was sleeping with my kids. Okay, I can't understand you. I need you to take a deep breath. What's going on? I don't know. I was sleeping in with my kids. I just came in our bed, and I turned over, and he's just cold. He's just cold. Who's cold? My husband. I turned the light off him. And he's not breathing? No. He's not breathing?
No.
I need you to confirm it for me. Is he not breathing?
No.
Okay, can you do CPR?
No, I don't know how.
You don't know? I'm going to tell you how to. Are you willing to do CPR?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deputies and EMS responded and attempted life-saving measures unsuccessfully. Court filings later described the medical examiner's conclusion as death from fetty intoxication. I'm using that word because YouTube will flag sometimes if you use the actual name. Anyway, the medical examiner concludes that the death was caused from a fetty overdose. Those filings also describe the fetty as illicit and orally ingested. Prosecutors have urged that money is a central motive theory. They say that she racked up significant debts, she was in financial stress, and there's the belief that her inheritance outcomes with her husband would differ depending on whether the marriage ended in divorce or death. Allegedly, if the marriage ended in death and they were still married at the time of the death, she would be set to inherit the home, his stake in his company, which he shares with a friend of his, and so much more. However, she signed a prenuptial agreement. So if they were to get divorced, she was not going to get anything at all. She was actually afraid that she might not even get 50-50 custody, which was one of the things that allegedly she was interested in making sure she would have. So some say this was her way of gaining the funds needed from her husband, who made upwards of $750,000 a year. If for some reason he passes, she could use that money to settle the debts that she had been racking up, much of which the husband was not even aware. So we're going to see that charging narratives describe prior financial conflicts and steps that were taken by Eric to protect his assets, including creating a trust and changing his beneficiary to his sister and his business partner. Those same filings and reportings include allegations about multiple life insurance policies and claims of forged or unauthorized insurance activity. The defense, however, has urged that the public has been fed a one-sided narrative and that the evidence needs to be tested in court rather than assumed from the headlines. A key part of the state's case, as described in court filings, is alleged procurement, which includes messages, meetings, and transfers involving multiple individuals. In March of 2024, there was an amended narrative where several witnesses are numbered rather than named. But the pathway described is very detailed, down to the dates, times, claimed purchases of pill, which were thought to be Fetty. Another warrant materials describe investigators focusing on a housekeeper connection and stating that the housekeeper eventually admitted to supplying the Fetty pills on 2 different occasions, with payments alleged and details said to be corroborated by digital evidence. Some of the reports have her paying upwards of $900 each time. So imagine spending $1,800 on pills. And we're going to see that her first attempt was unsuccessful. She actually has an attempted murder charge as a result. And unfortunately, thinks that it was her second attempt that killed him. Some say it might have been her third. Even in later court reporting, investigators acknowledge limitations. So there's a detective that testified that he could not be certain that the Fetty obtained through the alleged chain was the same substance that caused Eric's death. That's important. This distinction really does matter. It's the difference between this pathway existed and this path conclusively is the pathway that explains Eric's death. A trial is where that gap is going to be argued and tested. One of the most emotionally potent allegations, in my opinion, is tied to Valentine's Day of 2022. In the amended probable cause affidavit, in the narrative, there are 2 close friends of Eric that reported getting text messages from him that night. One reports that he said, "You almost lost me," in quotes. The second one, it says, "I think my wife tried to poison me." The narrative describes symptoms like hives and the use of an EpiPen and frames the episode as an earlier poisoning attempt. But the same filing also contains a conflicting piece of evidence. Later texts that are attributed to the defendant messaging a friend that there were no hives and no EpiPen and characterizing the incident as a joke and messing with him. These 2 accounts can't both describe the same reality in the same way. For this documentary, that's a moment that we need to slow down, not to sensationalize, but to show everyone how legal fact-finding works. There needs to be testimony, corroboration, credibility, and then cross-examination. Court filings describe a narrative involving celebratory drinks on March 3rd, 2022, which are often referred to as Moscow Mules in the amended probable cause statement, followed by sleep in another room and the early morning discovery that Eric was not breathing. Allegedly, they were in bed by 9:30, 9:45, and they brushed their teeth by 9:45, I think she says. Then they laid in bed for about 5 minutes when one of the sons said that he was having nightmares. So Kouri goes and lays down with the son, and she said that when this happens, if she goes into one of the kids' rooms to lay with them, if they're having a nightmare, if they need her, if they don't feel good, whatever the case may be, what happens is she'll fall asleep with them, but then when she wakes up in the middle of the night, in this case it was around 3 a.m., she'll go back into her bedroom. Anybody who's been, who is a parent, kids are grown now, but anybody that's been in the situation knows that these things happen. You go into your kid's room, you come back in the middle of the night. This is what she's alleging. Again, we're going to have to see what the evidence shows. Within the same filings that I was just talking about, a key defense leading explanation is attributed to the defendant. So the idea is that the Fetty may have been in a THC gummy. The filing then states that the medical examiner did not detect THC and that the gummies tested from the home did not contain Fetty. However, Kouri alleges that he may have gotten these gummies when he was in Mexico hunting just 2 weeks prior to his death. Another key dispute is a digital thread. So in the amended narrative, the defendant is described as telling law enforcement that she left her phone plugged in the bed. The filing then asserts forensic analysis showing that the phone was unlocked multiple times in the minutes before the 911 call. To a jury, you guys, these details can become competing stories of the same night. So this could be like panic versus concealment, coincident versus intent. This should become a lesson in restraint. So allegations are not proof, as we know. And technical claims require careful explanation. Investigators pursued digital evidence early. Search warrants describe seizing phones and computers and analyzing message histories, including alleged deletions, around the time of the death. In May of 2023, the Summit County Sheriff's Office confirms the arrest and explicitly stated that the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law and beyond a reasonable doubt. The Sheriff's Office also noted that the investigation involved the DEA. I put on a screen, I want to make sure comes from the judge, from a court filing. High-profile cases often look static from the outside. In court, they evolve through amended charges, several cases, and evidence rulings. In August of 2023, prosecutors filed notice that they would not seek the DP. That changed the potential sentencing framework and the way that the case is described. In 2025, there was local reporting describing a separate indictment or case alleging dozens of financial crimes, charges that, according to the reporting, were separated from the homicidal trial track. However, in opening statements, the prosecution definitely brings them up. So I don't know how separate they still are. Also, in 2025, the court ruled on suppression issues. So there were some statements that were suppressed under the Fifth Amendment, while much of the challenge evidence will remain. Another fight emerged over an orange notebook, which was described as a handwritten journal from the night of the death. This is an issue prosecutors asked the court to rule admissible. One of the biggest late-stage developments discussed publicly is the claim that a key witness changed his account of what he sold to Kouri that night. In a November 2025 order denying bail reconsideration, here, an earlier interview, the dealer confirms that there were Fetty sales. However, in later sworn affidavits, he asserted that the pills were OxyContin and described the confusion being over his detoxing at the time of the earlier interview. The court's reasoning is important for all of us. So a later retraction does not automatically erase earlier statements. Instead, the trial system expects jurors to evaluate the credibility. And the state may impeach a witness with strategy becomes legible. If the chain linking alleged purchased pills to the death is uncertain, and if the witness has incentive or credibility problems, that uncertainty can become the foundation of reasonable doubt. In the end, 3 children lost their father and eventually lose their mother as well. A community watched a private tragedy become a public trial. The ethical task here is to tell the story without turning grief into entertainment or allegations into certainty. In the end, the loudest sound is the silence that is left behind. Thank you so much for joining me for the first part of this documentary. Please like, subscribe, and share if you haven't, so that you can help me get my stream out there for other people that might be interested in watching it. I thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.